welcome back to my channel. Today I'm feeling inspired and also very compelled to speak the truth about Chinese hospitals and the healthcare system here. While I was doing a little bit of social media research on this topic, I found multiple very misleading videos about hospitals in China. Actually, I think misleading is a little too kind, just flat out lies. And as a person on the internet who prides myself in authenticity and transparency, it really annoys the shit out of me to watch these other people spread misinformation or just like one-sided stories about things that happen in China because I know that they're doing it only to get views. But let's just give a fair perspective of a place. Like, not everything is butterflies and rainbows. That goes with any place at any time with anybody, right? So just share the real stuff, share the not so good stuff, because at the end of the day, this ain't Texas and ain't no hold'em. So here I am, just trying to lay my cards down. I'm just happy that I get to share my knowledge and experiences with people who actually are considering traveling, working, studying, being in China. I know that it will help you guys. So stick around, stick around, because I'm gonna be sharing my horror stories and other horror stories I've heard about Chinese hospitals, the pros and the cons, and just some general advice. So stick around. Right into the juicy, oozy horror stories. Picture this. You're a young Aleese Lightyear. It's your first year in China. It is 2019 December, pre-pandemic. One day, you wake up in the middle of the night, coughing up a storm, a fever of like 110, and you feel like shit. So what do? You message your Chinese bestie at work, and you're like, yo, I'm feeling really sick because I need to go to the hospital. He immediately texts back and he's like, I'm taking you to the China-Japan Friendship Hospital, specifically the international department. Okay, cool. I've been there before. Let's go. We get to the hospital. I am feeling very out of it. I'm extremely weak. I don't even really remember what happens. Hours pass. They give me some traditional Chinese medicine and some Western medicine like antibiotics. I go home. A few days later, my condition has not improved, so my friend takes me back to the doctor, to the exact same hospital. They run some other tests, and then the doctor asked to speak with me privately in her office. Now, what I forgot to mention is because this is the international department, they speak English, but unfortunately that was not the case. But anyway, so here we are in this doctor's office, but immediately the mood was very somber and serious. The doctor has all these printouts on the desk that are my test results. Then all of a sudden, my friend gets really teary-eyed and is breathing heavy. Then he just walks out. And it's just me and the doctor and her limited English. And I'm like, what's going on? And the doctor's like, no problem. Okay, no problem. Everything okay? He comes back. He's got tissue in his hand and he's like dabbing his eyes. And he looks at me and he's like, Aleese, I have some really serious news to tell you, and I really hate that I have to be the one to tell you this. At this point, he's full on crying, and so am I, because I'm like, spit it out. Say it. What is it? And he's going through this long prologue of, I'm so sorry, but I wish your family was here, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, say it. He said, Aleese, you have AIDS. Huh? What? No. No? 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 Mind you, this was like month 8 for me in China. And at that time, you needed to do infectious disease check prior to even coming to China. It was like part of the visa requirements. And then again, once you arrive in China, and it came back negative. So how all of a sudden, 8 months later, when I haven't engaged in any activities that could give me that disease, are you telling me that I have that disease? Like, I know that that's impossible. So then the doctor tells my friend to tell me not to be upset that I should have expected this because most African women have AIDS or are born with AIDS. So after that, I just demanded that I see the results, and it's a good thing that I advocated for my damn self, because when they handed me the results, the very first thing I noticed, it's not my name on those results. It's another person's English name that happens to have the same initials as me. So not only is this doctor unprofessional, she's also incompetent because she's reading me someone else's results. I explained that to my friend, who is still, by the way, in tears, crying, bawling his eyes out, saying things to me like, Aleese, you're gonna get deported from China. You can't work in China if you have an infectious disease. We have to report to the government. Oh my God, your mom and your future kids, and oh my God, this is so horrible for you. And I'm like, nah, I don't have AIDS. So how about you like check the name, the birthday, the phone number on the results before you read them to someone? I communicate that to my friend. He communicates it to the doctor. The doctor's response. Oh my God. Oh, so funny. But all black people have AIDS, so I thought. It's time to go. But no. The next thing the doctor did was hand me the phone and say, this is this person. Tell them they have AIDS. The phone is on speaker and the person is already on the other line. She has already dialed this person's phone number. And they're like, hello? Hello? What did you say? Can you say that again? I can't hear you. You guys, I'm not making this shit up. I am not making this up. This 100% happened to me. I hope that person on the other end of the line who has the same initials as me is doing okay. Because the doctor is pressuring me to tell the person. She literally was like, you're a foreigner, he's foreigner, speak. Obviously, someone needs to tell this man. So I just told him, because he's already on the phone, what else can I do? I just said, hey, this is the China-Japan Friendship Hospital. You need to come to the hospital immediately regarding your test results. Goodbye. And then hung up. And then we left the hospital. So that was my horror story. Now I'm going to tell you a few other horror stories that don't belong to me, but belong to other expats who live elsewhere in China. So I know this expat girl who had surgery at a public hospital, and her surgeon live streamed her surgery on TikTok. Also, what he published to his TikTok, photos of her during the procedure, photos of her after the procedure. Because he was like an influencer doctor trying to gain clout because he operated on a foreigner. Another horror story. I know a male expat who went to the doctor for a routine prostate exam. And a thing about Chinese hospitals is there is really not much regard for privacy. And a lot of times the door is like open or cracked, and there's like a lot of people lined up right at that door. So he is in the doctor's office getting his prostate exam, where the doctor has to stick a finger up the booty hole. And while their finger was up the booty hole, the people that were in line behind him just opened the door because they wanted to know if it was their turn yet. And what they saw was a foreigner with a finger up his booty hole. Yikes! And they all started laughing. And the doctor, this male expat, could speak fluent Chinese and was yelling and saying all the things that you need to say in that situation. And not a thing was done. So, what does it all mean? What does it mean? What does it mean? I think that you can form your own opinion based on those few horror stories that I've said. But now I want to move on to just some general information about the healthcare system in China. So in China, they have public hospitals and they have international hospitals. Maybe there's something in between that. I don't know nothing about it. International hospitals you will always find in a tier 1 city like Beijing, Shanghai, Shenzhen, Guangzhou, because there's a lot of foreigners and international travel there. An international hospital means that it is fully international, where they speak multiple languages and are trained in an international way. A public hospital is a public hospital. Some of them have international departments, some of them don't. The thing about international hospitals is that they are not nationwide. To state one of the obvious differences between public and international hospitals is international hospitals are much more expensive. I can think of a time where I went to an international hospital that was not in my insurance coverage, so I had to pay for it out of pocket for what turned out to be an intestinal parasite, and that cost me almost 2,000 US dollars. I will say that some public hospitals do have international departments that cater to non-Chinese people. The level of care or level of foreign language ability varies. Okay, so now I want to just transition into talking about the pros and the cons of a Chinese public hospital, because all of the videos I'm seeing on YouTube are talking about how pristine and professional and easy they are. And I'm like, where? So, maybe the biggest con, in my opinion, based on my public hospital horror story, is lack of bedside manner and just straight up professionalism. Sometimes it just don't exist, and that's for a multitude of reasons, probably lots of them I don't know why, but I'm assuming that due to the volume of patients that come through a Chinese public hospital, there just isn't the time for the doctor to have bedside manner. Plus, dealing with so many people all day long is probably exhausting, and not everyone is nice, not everyone is patient, and people are pushy, and you probably develop a certain type of personality to deal with that. And as a non-Chinese person coming into that environment, I perceive that as being unprofessional, rude, and not listening or caring about what I have to say. A lot of public hospitals won't have the traditional Western medicines that you're looking for. Some public hospitals only have Chinese medicines. Some public hospitals have a mix of both. And also, a lot of times, if you're getting Chinese medicine, you don't understand what it does, why you're getting this medicine, or how you take it. Yes, of course, hospitals have pharmacies, but like if the pharmacist doesn't speak English, and they're talking to you through a translator and they have a long line behind you, usually it's just like 2 sentences, or sometimes you don't even get to speak to them. They just write a note in Chinese on the medicine. And sometimes when you translate the medicine, all these weird medical or scientific or Latin words where you're just like, what the F is this? Overall lack of cleanliness. I got sick at work. I was teaching a class and threw up in the middle of the class. Very embarrassing. And because it was COVID times, I had to go to the local public hospital with a coworker of mine. And at that public hospital, they didn't have soap. They didn't even have running water. And this was in Beijing, y'all. So I can't tell you how many times I have seen some type of test being done in a hospital or had a test done on me where people are not wearing gloves, people are not wearing scrubs, they're just like in their sweatpants. It is extremely easy to get lost, confused, turned around inside a Chinese hospital. All the signs are in Chinese. It's crowded. People are going from place to place. You are unsure of where you're supposed to go. You're carrying around all these documents that are all in Chinese and you need to like take the time to translate them. Then you try to ask at the information desk, but there's a long line, or they're not used to using a translator, or there's people behind you who are just cutting in front of you and just like yelling, and you're just like, ah! It can be very, very chaotic. On to the positive things about public hospitals. Probably one of the top reasons why foreigners continue to go to public hospitals despite all of the disadvantages is the price. Chinese hospitals, whether you have insurance or not, are very, very affordable when we compare them to the prices in the US. Let me give you a real life example. So I needed to go to a public hospital a few months ago because I needed to get a mammogram, which was not available at the international clinics in Chengdu. So I go to this public hospital. They end up giving me all of the tests, right? Blood test, CT scan, mammogram, sonogram. Cost me about 500 RMB. Very, very, very affordable. Another pro is that you don't need quote unquote good insurance to get quality care at a public hospital. Typically, if you are coming to China as a foreign teacher, your job will provide accidental insurance, meaning if you have an emergency or an accident, your insurance will cover most or some of those fees. But for more routine things like going to see a gynecologist, you need to pay that out of pocket. And those fees at a public hospital are very low. You don't need insurance to be able to afford them. It is very easy to get an appointment at a public hospital. Unless you want to see a specific doctor, you just walk in and wait, and then you see the doctors. It's as simple as that. There are so many apps that are difficult to navigate if you cannot read Chinese. Even with translation, it can be difficult to figure out which department you need to go to, which doctor you need to see. So it's best to just go to the hospital in person. Yeah, even if you call or use the app to make an appointment with a specific doctor, it's very easy to get an appointment. Back at home, it can take weeks or months to get an appointment with a specific doctor. In China, it just takes like a day or hours. Usually doctors in these public hospitals will write you a sick note for like however many days that you want. It's great, especially if you want to take a 5-day vacation, but you want your job to think that you have the stomach flu. You don't even have to be that sick. You can just have a cough and you can get a 5-day sick note. Depending on the doctor, a lot of times they will give you their personal WeChat so you can hit them up whenever you have questions or concerns, and they will get back to you ASAP. If the doctor's not giving out their WeChat, then the nurse definitely is. Especially if they can speak English, they're definitely aware of how intimidating and how scary the whole public hospital system is, especially if you're ill, and they will try to make it easier for you by allowing you to contact them. Along that same vein of customer service, some public hospitals will give foreigners this like VIP treatment, especially if they have an international department or staff that can speak English, who will help carry all of your documents, because you get a lot of documents, a lot of receipts, who will take you to the right place, who will help you so you don't get lost. And that is a service that is truly unmatched when you're dealing with the anxiety of being in a hospital and being ill. Advice. What you're gonna need if you come here and get sick. Save yourself the drama and the trauma. Just pay the extra money and go to the international hospitals, especially if you're having like a serious illness or health concern. To have a good relationship with a Chinese coworker or friend who can not only explain to you in a way that you're comfortable with what to expect going into a hospital in China, and also to come with you, to advocate for you, to be your translator, to be your voice. One thing I didn't mention about Chinese hospitals that is very different from American hospitals is just like the whole payment system. So in a Chinese hospital, before you see the doctor, before you have a test, before you're carted from place to place, you need to go and pay for that service beforehand. Right when you enter the hospital, you go to the registration desk where you give your information and you pay. After you see the doctor and the doctor's like, you need to go get an x-ray, you go back to the registration desk, you pay for the x-ray. After the x-ray, you need to wait for the results, and the doctor may be like, okay, now you need ultrasound. Then you have to go and pay for the ultrasound. So this kind of back and forth can be extremely confusing, especially if you don't know what to expect. So definitely bring someone who you're comfortable with. Another thing to know, if you're coming to China on a work visa, it is required for you to get a health checkup. That is something that is also required for the Chinese staff to do, I think, every time they start a new job. I'm not really sure what the rule is, but like everyone has to get these mandatory health checkups when they start a job. 90% of the time, you cannot choose where this health check happens. Your employer already has an arrangement with a public hospital or a clinic of some sort. Therefore, you will be forced to experience the Chinese public hospital experience, even if it's in a clinic. Alrighty, that is it. I just wanted to share some tips and my experiences for all of you who just wanted to laugh or are seriously considering moving to China and can't find any resources about what healthcare is like there for foreigners. Please don't believe everything that people are telling you on the internet. And if you have any questions, drop them in the comments below. If you have a list of 5 or more questions because you're seriously considering living or working or studying in China and you can't find answers to them and you just really want to talk to me, you can talk to me. You can book a consultation with your girl. I will put the link to my calendar below. Shoot me an email, shoot me a DM, all of the things. It's time for me to go. You know what it is. Me, Aleese Lightyear, over